Our movie begins with Shahida, a 6-year-old Pakistani girl who is unable to speak for no apparent reason. Her parents, Rauf and her mother, love and care for her deeply. One day, Shahida is playing near her home when her bicycle slips away from her, causing her to fall off the edge of the mountain where they live. She hangs on silently, unable to call for help, until her parents and the entire village start searching for her. They eventually find her. The next day, they gather with the village elder, who advises them to visit the shrine of a saint in Delhi, India, as it aligns with their Islamic faith. He tells them that, God willing, Shahida will be able to speak. However, due to old political tensions between India and Pakistan, Rauf finds it impossible to enter India. Shahida's mother offers to take her instead, no matter the cost. Rauf sells all his sheep and gives her the money for the journey. They safely arrive in India, and Shahida's mother visits a mosque, praying for her daughter's cure. On their way back to Pakistan, the train, they are on halts before the border for repairs. While everyone is asleep, Shahida wakes up to the sound of a small goat that has fallen from the train. She gets off to rescue the goat and plays with it until the train starts moving again. She tries to run after the train, signaling to her mother, but she cannot call out since she cannot speak. Her mother remains asleep, unaware. The train crosses into Pakistan without Shahida. She sees another train ahead, hoping it will take her back, but it moves in the opposite direction, taking her farther from Pakistan. Shahida's mother wakes up and realizes her daughter is missing. She frantically pulls the emergency cord to stop the train and starts searching for her. However, an officer prevents her from re-entering India without a visa. Realizing she cannot go back, she breaks down in tears. Rauf reassures her, saying that someone will surely find and care for Shahida. Meanwhile, Shahida wakes up to the sound of a festival celebration. People are dancing around her. A man notices her standing still and offers her a drink. Realizing she is thirsty and hungry, he gives her food, which she eats in front of him. The man tries to ask for her name, but quickly realizes she cannot speak. After giving her more food, he leaves, but Shahida follows him. Thinking she wants money, he offers her some, but she refuses. So he takes her to his place of worship and tells her to sit by him, assuming her family will come looking for her. Shahida, being Muslim, doesn't understand where she is or the kind of worship happening around her. She refuses to leave the man's side. Eventually, he takes her to the police station, but the officer refuses to take her, saying it's full of criminals and unsafe for a child. The officer tells him it's better to take care of her himself until someone comes looking for her. The man, now responsible for Shahida, brings her home to his family. On their way back, he tells Shahida he will list every city, and when he mentions her city, she should raise her hand to indicate it's hers. He starts listing cities in India, but there is no luck. The passengers on the bus try to help, listing cities they remember. One of the passengers notices the man is from a far-off city and asks why he came to Delhi. The man, named Pawan, starts telling his story. Pawan's father was a postmaster in their city. He always tried to educate Pawan, but Pawan struggled with school and sports, eventually failing the 10th grade 20 times. He could neither cheat nor lie, being deeply religious. When he finally passed, he rushed to tell his father the good news, but his father died of a heart attack from the shock of his success. To honor his father's last wish, Pawan went to Delhi to meet his father's friend, Dayanand, hoping to get a job. Pawan stays at Dayanand's house, where he falls for Dayanand's daughter, Rasika. Rasika admires Pawan for his honesty, helpful nature, and strong faith. When suitors come for Rasika's hand, she confesses her love for Pawan to her father. Her father agrees, but only if Pawan can buy a house in 6 months. Pawan shares his story with the bus passengers, explaining his journey to buy a house and his chance to marry Rasika. Now with Shahida, whom he calls Money since he doesn't know her real name, he must find a way to get her home. One day, Money disappears from Pawan's house. She's found at a neighbor's house, eating chicken. Pawan is upset, as Dayanand is a strict vegetarian and doesn't allow meat in the house. Pawan is conflicted, but continues to care for Money, trying to learn where she's from. Eventually, it becomes clear money is from Pakistan. Dyanand, holding old grudges from the India-Pakistan wars, orders Pawan to take money to the Pakistani embassy and leave her there. However, the embassy refuses to accept her without proper identification or a passport. When protests erupt outside the embassy, Pawan shields money from the chaos, taking the blows himself, and flees with her. Desperate, Pawan goes to a travel agency, hoping to find a way to send money back to Pakistan. The agent demands a large sum of money, which Pawan doesn't have. Rasika gives him her savings intended for their house, telling him money's safety is more important. Pawan hands money over to the agent, but she cries and clings to him, scared to leave. Despite his pain, Pawan walks away. Realizing he made a mistake, Pawan returns to find money, only to discover the agent has sold her to a brothel. Pawan storms the place, rescuing money, and gives her a gift he bought earlier. Together, they embark on a new plan to reunite money with her family. Everyone in the place watches until he reaches the employee. He stands in front of him and then throws him out of the window of the house as punishment for what he did. He carries Muni on his back, leaves the house, and looks at the employee, who is hanging in front of Muni, laughing. Then, he bows before her and tells her that he has decided to take Muni home himself, no matter what happens. He won't allow what happened to happen again. Even though he doesn't have a passport, he'll find a way to cross the border. He takes a bus to the country's border and keeps walking in the desert, hoping to find a way to cross. Eventually, some people approach him, telling him they can get him across the border for $25,000. He refuses and continues on his way. One of them gets out of the car and tells him that the border is made of metal with a 440-volt electric current, enough to burn anyone who touches it, and that if he keeps going, he'll be arrested by border guards and killed. The man convinces him, and he shares Muni's story. They offer to help him cross the border for $25,000, counting them as one person instead of two. Night falls, and the Pakistani army passes by the border every 10 minutes. The way across is through one of 4 underground tunnels. They successfully cross the border, and Bhuvan and Muni find themselves on Pakistani soil. However, Bhuvan refuses to move until he gets permission from the patrol. The man thinks he's crazy and runs away before the patrol arrests him. Bhuvan stands there, waiting for someone to give him permission because he refuses to do anything wrong. The patrol approaches, surrounding him, and the officer asks about his identity. Bhuvan tells the officer the whole story, how they came through the tunnel, and that his religion prevents him from doing anything wrong. He needed permission to step on Pakistani soil. The officer orders the soldiers to send Bhuvan back through the same tunnel to India and fill the tunnel in. They return Bhuvan to Indian soil, but the patrol finds him back on Pakistani land again. He tells them that there is another tunnel he used to cross, and that he needs their permission. They think he's a spy and start beating him in front of Muni, but the officer feels sorry for him when Muni starts crying. He tells Bhuvan that the patrol passes every 10 minutes and that he will leave him, hoping he will be gone by the time he returns. After 10 minutes, the officer finds Bhuvan still standing in the same place. He asks why he hasn't moved or entered Pakistan yet, and Bhuvan says that he didn't get permission. According to his religion, he must receive permission to move. The officer grants him permission to enter the country on the condition that after he returns Muni to her family, he goes back to India. Bhuvan promises to do so, and they continue their journey through Pakistan's desert until they reach the nearest city. They sit and eat together, and there are officers nearby having breakfast with handcuffs beside them. Muni takes the handcuffs and puts them in her bag, and Bhuvan continues his journey. However, the officer chases after them, searches their bags, and finds the handcuffs in Muni's bag. He suspects Bhuvan is a thief and asks for his passport. Bhuvan tells him he doesn't have a passport because he crawled across the border at night and entered the country after getting permission from an officer. The officer arrests him, thinking he's a spy. Meanwhile, news spreads that the police have arrested an Indian spy on Pakistani soil. A journalist named Chand hears the news and rushes to cover it. Chand films Bhuvan as he's taken into the station. During the investigation, Muni sees a picture that resembles her house on a calendar in front of her. She runs toward it and gestures to Buen that this is her home. She's overjoyed. The officer thinks this is a trick to escape from jail and checks if Muni can speak to prove her silence is an act. He grabs Muni roughly, so Buen starts fighting everyone at the station, takes Muni, and escapes outside. Chand is outside and follows them to film the event. They board the same bus that Buen and Muni took earlier. Chand tells the ticket collector that there's a spy in front of him. Buen asks the ticket collector about the place in the picture, and he tells the whole story. Chand, overhearing, tells the collector he wishes there were more good people like Buen in the country. Chand takes the picture from him and asks the passengers if anyone knows the place in the picture. Meanwhile, the officer and his team are on their way to intercept the bus, but they find neither Buen, Chand, nor Muni. All the passengers deny having seen a man with a child on the bus. The officer allows the bus to continue. The ticket collector, having decided to help Buen, hides them among the luggage on the roof of the bus. He drops them off at the closest place they can stay for the night. When Buen wakes up, he finds himself sleeping in a mosque. He panics and runs outside, standing there until the mosque's sheikh asks him why he's standing outside. Buen tells him that he's not Muslim and can't enter the mosque. The sheikh explains that the mosque never closes so that anyone from any religion who needs help can come in. Islam doesn't differentiate between religions. The sheikh takes him inside and listens to his story. The sheikh looks at the picture and tells Buen that the writing on the photo is in English and that the place in the picture is in Switzerland. Buen loses hope of ever reaching the place, but the sheikh tells him there are mountains in Kashmir that look similar to those in the picture. He gives them niqabs to wear to disguise themselves because the police are searching the area. The sheikh helps them pass through the checkpoint without being noticed, and they continue their journey by foot to avoid roads and the police. At the same time, Diwan learns that Buen has taken Muni to her home by himself and gets angry with his daughter for allowing Buen to do such a thing. His daughter argues with him, saying that it's his political and religious fanaticism that caused all of this, and that since Buen disappeared after entering Pakistan, she will do whatever it takes to reach him, even without a visa. Buen continues his journey toward Kashmir. They try to find faster transportation and accidentally get a ride with the area's chief inspector, who is heading to the station because there's an Indian spy on the loose. Once they arrive, the inspector insists on sending a soldier to take them to the house they're heading to. They drive until they stop in front of a random house, and Chand tells the soldier that it's his house. They find an old man inside, and Chand pretends to be his son just long enough for the soldier to leave. Meanwhile, the inspector figures out that the spy is with a mute girl and guesses that it's them who rode with him earlier. He orders the soldier to return to the house and arrest them, but by then, they've already disappeared. Chand continues to document everything that happens and all the moments they experience together until they reach the area they were heading to. They search everywhere for Muni's family until Buen loses hope and considers turning himself in to the police, thinking that they will be able to find Muni's family faster. Chand warns him that if he does that, he'll die in prison, and Muni will be sent to an orphanage. Chand then comes up with the idea of contacting the TV station he works for and broadcasting the video he filmed about them, hoping Muni's mother will see it and reach out. He calls the station's director and pitches the idea, but the director rejects it, saying that they're a news channel, not a miracle worker, and hangs up. Buen asks Chand about the holy shrine that grants wishes. Chand explains that it's a blessed place where people's prayers are answered. Buen decides to visit the shrine, and Chand's assistant calls him to say that the police have arrested him to find out where they went. Chand tells the assistant that they're on their way to the shrine with Buen and the child. They all head to the shrine, and Buen and Muni pray to find her family. Chand stands nearby, recording the scene, and starts telling Buen's full story. Meanwhile, Muni's mother, Shahida, is at the same shrine. She doesn't see Muni because Muni is asleep, and Buen has covered her with a shawl to shield her from the sun. After Chand finishes his report, he decides to upload the video to YouTube since the channel refused to air it. He notices that the police have arrived at the shrine with his assistant, so he runs to warn Buen and helps him hide from the police. Chan calls his assistant and misleads him into thinking they've moved to another shrine to divert the police's attention, which works. Later, they find a place to eat, and Chan shows them the video he made. As they watch it, Muni starts pointing at someone in the beginning of the video. Buen realizes it's her mother. He asks Muni, and she raises her hand, crying, because she finally saw her mother again. Chan rewinds the video, and they notice that Muni's mother was getting off a particular bus. Based on the video, they figure out the time of the bus and go to ask about it. They ask the bus driver about the places it travels to, and finally, they are able to pinpoint the area Muni came from. They are happy to know they've found the right place. Upon reaching the area, they enter a village and search for Muni's house. As they search, Chan sees a wedding and realizes that the groom is the one who helped Buen cross the border. Buen finds a house and calls out for Muni's mother. Just as they're about to reunite, Chan notices that a massive group of police are coming for Buen. Chan urges him to run, but Buen refuses to leave without seeing Muni's family. Chan takes Muni and hides her to avoid the police. As the police arrest Buen, he sees Muni standing by the door of her house. Tears of happiness run down his face, knowing that she's finally home and that he's fulfilled his promise. He tells the police that he'll go back to India because his mission is complete. The officer, realizing the goodness of Buen's heart, decides to let him go. Finally, Buen says goodbye to Muni, who runs to him and hugs him for the last time before he leaves. However, the video that Chan filmed is seen by the officer, and they confirm that Buen was at the shrine. They also spread the video around all the areas near the shrine, and the bus thereon passes through a real checkpoint. Buen decides to sacrifice himself, gets off the bus, and runs to divert the police's attention towards him. They chase him, allowing Chan and Muni to continue their journey until Buen is captured. They beat and torture him, while at the same time, Chan and Muni run towards the area she's from. Muni sees her house in front of her and runs towards it, with Chan capturing everything on camera. Muni's mother is at home and can't believe it when she sees her daughter running towards her. Shahida cries, and her mother takes her in her arms, happy that her daughter has finally returned to her. Chan continues filming all the moments between Shahida and her mother until they hear a gunshot, which is fired at Buen as he tries to escape from the police. The video of Buen and Muni spreads widely, with many people in both India and Pakistan watching it, including everyone who knows Buen. The story becomes news in all the papers and turns into a public issue. The police refuse to admit their mistake and continue torturing Buen, even after injuring him in the shoulder, forcing him to confess that he's a spy. Chan receives a call from the police officer in charge of torturing Buen, explaining what is happening. Chan then makes another video, demanding Buen's release because he is innocent. All the channels broadcast news of Buen, along with Chan's videos. Chan calls for a sit-in at the border between the two countries to force the government to release Buen. At dawn the next day, people from both countries gather at the border, with all the media outlets present to cover the event. Buen appears with the officer on the Pakistani side, having been smuggled out by the authorities. Chan runs to him and tells him that he kept his promise, that Muni is with her family, and that her name is Shahida. He cries with joy at the success of his mission and hugs Chan for helping him. Buen heads towards the Indian border, and people begin chanting his name. The officer moves towards the border and orders the guard to open the gate so Buen can cross. However, the guard says he has orders to arrest him. Despite the orders not to open the gate, the few guards present are no match for the thousands gathered in front of them. The guard can't open the gate, but he can step back. The Pakistani people storm the gate, breaking it open so that Buen can cross peacefully. Shahida rushes to meet Buen, running towards him to catch him before he crosses the border, as she may never see him again. By then, Buen has crossed the Pakistani border and is heading towards the Indian side. Shahida is also waiting for him on the Indian side, and she pushes through the crowd. She waves at Buen, hoping he will look at her and see her. Since she can't speak, she doesn't know how to call out to him. But suddenly, she manages to call out to Buen, her voice finally emerging. It's the first time she's ever spoken. Buen looks at her and sees her standing there after she finally spoke. She is overjoyed that he saw her and came back for her. Buen runs towards her, reaching her at the dividing line between the two countries, and they embrace.